Hello everybody, Sniping is Fun here, and welcome you all back to my part 2 of my top 10 new Capcom characters that I would personally want to see in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. In part 1, we left off talking about John Talbane from the Darkstalkers series and how I think it'd be kind of cool for him to be the next new Darkstalkers character because he's a freaking werewolf and all that other stuff. And you can watch part 1 all you want to see my reasonings, extra reasonings, all my talking about John Talbane as number 6. We're going to be going on and starting at number 5. And I would strongly recommend, like I mentioned on my list, that you watch part 1 before you watch this, because it might be, watching these out of order might confuse you a bit, and I might spoil stuff, because I might talk about numbers 10 through 6, like John Talbane here. And there you go. But I'm not forcing you or anything, like I mentioned before as well. You could watch part 2 and then watch part 1 all you want. There you go. You can do whatever you want. I'm not forcing you or anything. I just think it would make more sense. And you can see 10 through 1 with honorable mentions in the order it was given. But whatever. This is the start of part 2 of my top 10 new Capcom characters I would like to see in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. And we're going to be starting with number 5. Masamune Date from the Sengoku Pasara series. Or Basara. Whatever, however you pronounce it. Sengoku Pasara. Sengoku Basara. I don't know how you freaking spell it. But it's basically Capcom's equivalent to Samurai Warriors. And there's an anime based off it, which I don't know if the anime came first in the game, but I think it was the game that came first in the anime. The anime is really freaking awesome, even though I've not seen all of it. And Masamune Date is a freaking awesome character in the Sengoku Basara games. And it's basically a samurai character that, obviously they're based off, like, historical Japanese, warriors and lords and whatnot, that fights basically with like 6 to 8 swords in between his fingers. He has a very crazy moveset that you can basically use with like 6 to 8 different swords, fighting style. He's a samurai, which we don't really have I don't think we've ever had like a samurai, or too many samurais for that matter, in Marvel vs. Capcom in general throughout the history of its series. And it's Sengoku Basara, which is a popular franchise now. It's getting more popular not just because of the games, but also the anime. And he, I think, is a heavily requested character. As far as I've heard, he's a super heavily requested character in Japan. So, what do I know? Yeah, I'm agreeing with them, I guess. And he's a freaking awesome personality, a unique moveset, like I said. And it represents another Capcom franchise than just, the ones we've seen in there. Because it's like, this game, every first Capcom game we basically can say, but this one especially, we need to start seeing more Capcom characters that are not just Resident Evil, Street Fighter, Darkstalkers, Mega Man, the basics. We need to start introducing more of the other Capcom franchises because they have so many freaking Capcom has so many freaking franchises that have yet to even be included in Marvel vs. Capcom at all, or Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, or anything versus Capcom. And Sengoku Basara seems to be one of the next obvious choices to include, and he's my choice, Masamune Date, because the series needs it, and he's like one of the most popular requested characters from that franchise. Cool moveset. Cool character, cool series. There you go. That was number 5. My number 4 is going to be the Scorpion from Saturday Night Slam Masters. And I don't know if you guys are getting sick and tired of me talking about this franchise and talking about this character, but I'm going to continue talking about it because I think he deserves more and the series deserves more. I basically talked about how he should be in my top 10 new characters for DLC for Street Fighter 5 or a future character for Street Fighter 6. I talked about him being included in that. I talked about Saturday Night Slam Masters and a franchise that needs to be returned indoor, getting a remake. There you go. He's in this list because Saturday Night Slam Masters needs more representation, needs to be brought back. It's in the same flipping universe as Street Fighter, Rival Schools, and Final Fight. And all those series have gotten represented at some point in the first Capcom franchise. Why has Saturday Night Slam Masters not gotten it yet? And I picked the Scorpion because he's the most coolest character in the game, being a masked wrestler from Japan that knows all these different fighting wrestling styles and can use electric attacks. And I've seen him request. I've actually been surprised because I've seen at least 1 or 2 people talking about wanting to see him. So I'm not alone. Yes! The Scorpion. Or the Astro, if you want to go with the Japanese name, is such an awesome character, and I think Saturday Night Slam Masters needs more representation, needs to be put back in the spotlight again, so we can start seeing some of those characters in Street Fighter, and actually maybe see the revival of the franchise one day. And he'd be such a unique character as the wrestling character, which we have not really seen, which I know Mike Haggard was in Saturday Night Slam Masters, but his moveset I think was more based off of Final Fight, with steel pipe and everything, so there you go. And It's like he's like the major character to include if you don't include like someone like El Stingray, Biff Slamkovich, or Gunlock, or Victor Ortega for that matter. Include the Scorpion. He's like the standout character from that game. And it'd be so unique seeing a wrestling character that could use electric attacks. There you go. That was number 4. Number 3 is going to be Captain Commando. And as I mentioned in part 1, and if you haven't watched part 1, it's going to be confusing you because yes, Captain Commando was in Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and Marvel vs. Capcom 2, so he's not a new character. But I basically mentioned that each list, the Marvel list and the Capcom list, there were characters. There was going to be one character each list that was not a new character entirely, but a character that was not in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 that, you know, was in Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and or 2 and didn't arrive in the third one, so there's still technically a new character. If you watched my, you know, Marvel list, I basically put in War Machine. This list is Captain Commando, because Captain Commando is a long-standing character in this franchise that actually is surprising that he was cut out from 3, because he was in 1 and 2, and he's a staple in the Capcom franchises. You know, for those of you who don't really know, Captain Commando was Capcom's mascot before Mega Man. Now, not this version of Captain Commando, because this is the version from his games. It was this arcade, beat-em-up, brawling game, and he was in Marvel vs. Capcom, like I said, and he's an awesome, cool Capcom character that has like this giant metal robot army. He fights, and he defeats villains and stuff off the street. It's like Final Fight with like characters that have like superpowers, or like robot-type people, or stuff like that. It's a really fun game. You should play it. Captain Commando, Super Nintendo. Or check out the arcade game, or check whatever version you can find. Play Captain Commando. Captain Commando is a really freaking cool character, and I think he should be brought back. And, you know, Captain Commando. Capcom. Hello. That's kind of where they gave his name from. So, include him. He's a staple in the franchise. A lot of people want him back. He is so heavily requested. I'm seriously not surprised. That's my number 3. Number 2. An extra Phoenix Wright character to join Phoenix Wright and represent the Ace Attorney series with a second character. Now, I did, unlike part 1 where I talked about how Ryu and Nina, it could be one or the other, a team character where Nina has assistance from Ryu, or Ryu has assistance from Nina from the Breath of Fire franchise. This is either or. And my 2 top choices, and I'm kind of cheating here, I don't really care. My list is either Miles Edgeworth or Franziska van Karma. And it could be either of them, because both of them are freaking awesome. He's basically they're both, the prosecutors. We have the attorney in Phoenix Wright, and then we have the villainous antagonist character in one of the prosecutors, Miles Edgeworth, which is a series staple. He's been in like every single game in the entire freaking series, from the ones on the DS, the Game Boy Advance games, the 3DS games, and so on and so forth. He's made an appearance in Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright. Spoilers! Not during the story, but yeah, at the end. Spoilers! And he's basically a big staple in the game. And then she's basically a big villainous character that could... whatever. You basically have a character that's... I would, if I had to have a personal choice, I would say because of moveset potential, you have Franziska von Karma, because she uses her whip, on top of doing the, like, objection type stuff, and, all the crazy stuff that Phoenix Wright does. But she has her whip, too, and she can seriously kick butt with that, as well as the Ace Attorney standard crazy Phoenix Wright type stuff. But then you have someone like him, who he'd be unique too in his own way, but he probably might be a little too close to Phoenix Wright. But I think him being such a series staple, he might make a little more sense than her. But in terms of fighting potential, I'd pick her over him. But Phoenix Wright, the Ace Attorney series, needs another character, I think. It's popular enough to still be around, and I can almost guarantee Phoenix Wright's going to come back. So, give him a partner. That's it for number 2. Before we get on to number 1, let's go through some honorable mentions of other Capcom characters that I really would like to see in this game, or really think would make sense for this game, or franchise to represent, or whatever. They just missed the boat this close to being on my top 10 list. Laura from Street Fighter V, because like I mentioned in part 1, I had Rashid to represent Street Fighter V, like how C. Viper represents Street Fighter 4 and Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And I think Rashid makes more sense, but Laura would be kind of cool because she has her electric attacks and her fighting style, and she, like, I think it would be how I would rank the new characters that I would really personally want to see for this game from Street Fighter V and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. It'd be Rashid, then Laura, kind of tied with Fong and Necalli at the end. I know Necalli, I've seen people mention Necalli as well, and I like Macaulay. He's kind of cool, but in my opinion, he's the weakest of the 4 new characters in Street Fighter V, so he's sadly not on the list. But I will basically mention him right now. He would be a cool character to see, but Laura would be kind of cool to see. Not as much as Rashid, but she's there. It also kind of brings in some representation of Sean. Chuck Green from the Dead Rising series. Frank West is likely going to stick around because of Dead Rising 4. Giving him a partner, Chuck Green, kind of cool, being able to use his motorcycle and different abilities to the photography type style of, Frank West. There you go. He's also, I think I've seen people request him too. Claire Redfield from Resident Evil series. Now, I've mentioned Leon on this list because Leon, I think, is the top choice for it, but his little partner from Resident Evil 2, Claire, would be kind of cool to see as well because she would not fight like Chris, she would not fight like Jill, she would certainly not fight like Leon. She'd have her own unique style with guns and ammo and weapons and zombies and all that too, and she's also a pretty requested character, I think, as well. Not as much as Leon, but it's there. Regina from the Dino Crisis series, because Dino Crisis needs to be, just like I mentioned with Saturday Night Slam Masters and with Breath of Fire, is a Capcom franchise that needs more love now. It's Resident Evil with freaking dinosaurs. You're going to get chased down by a T-Rex. Her ultimate attack could involve a giant freaking T-Rex biting you like, and she's like the series staple character from it. And it's another strong female character they got in a franchise that deserves more representation, so we can kind of get maybe a new Dino Crisis game. And should be an interesting moveset, basically having dinosaurs get involved in the moveset and all her different guns and knives and everything. Hello, Capcom. Hello. Dino Crisis. Hello. Wayne Holden from the Lost Planet series. I think he'd be kind of cool. He's kind of like a, I know Lost Planet's not really the biggest franchise from them, and it's still fairly recent. But he'd be kind of an interesting character with all his different his grapple hook thing and his guns and whatnot. You could basically make him like, what's his face from Bionic Commando. I can't remember his name. Basically make it like him with guns. It'd be kind of cool. He's not one of my strongest choice characters. That's the reason why he's an honorable mention. But I think Lost Planet would be kind of cool to get a character. Samanosuke from the Onimusha series, because Onimusha needs some sort of representation, and it did get a character in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. So how about Marvel vs. Capcom as well, with Samanosuke, who's like the original lead character in the series. Which, they didn't pick him, they picked one of the newer guys. Which is kind of cool. Like, I'm not talking about any of the other characters saying, but make it slightly different. Tatsunoko vs. Capcom had a different character, and you put the original Marvel vs. Capcom. There you go. Samurai-esque character. I would like to see Masamune Date as more of a samurai character to include, but Samanosuke would be kind of cool too. And I do think Onimusha deserves more recognition, like Dino Crisis, like Saturday Night Slam Masters, like Breath of Fire, like everything else. Come on. Next one. Proto Man, because now that we have Mega Man X and there's no, they always seem to, for some, and I've seen this in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and I've seen it in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. I don't know how much it relates to the first two, really. It's been a long freaking time, and I was never with them. Basically, they always seem to represent different, Mega Man franchises within the Mega Man series with different characters. Like in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, you had basically Zero represent the X series, and you had Ro represent the original series and whatnot. And in Mega Man, in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, you had Tronbon represent Legends, Zero represent X, and they always seem to represent. And Mega Man and Volna was Legends, and Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. How can I forget him? It always seems like they represent different, franchises. Now that Mega Man is being represented as an X character, the original series is left open. How about Pro Man be that character? Duh. Speaking of Mega Man characters, Zero, and you're going to say, sniping is fun, Zero's not new. Well, the Mega Man Zero version of Zero certainly is. And I think, because we have Mega Man X represent, Mega Man X represent Mega Man X, well, I just confused myself there. So I think if Zero comes back, they're not going to put in, Zero for Mega Man X because Mega Man X is representing Mega Man X. So bring Zero back as his Mega Man Zero form, which deserves more recognition anyways, because it's been a long freaking time since we had any of that series. And that's it for my honorable mentions. we are going to begin on the number one. Drum roll, please, for my number one most wanted Capcom newcomer from Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and that is going to be, drum roll, please. Number one choice, friend. Capcom newcomer is going to be... Wow. Going to be... Okay, how about this? I'll go as close as possible. Going to be... Base from Mega Man. Because I do want Mega Man to get a lot more representation. Now, you can either go with, as pictured here, the original base character, which pretty much throws my idea of Pro Man out unless you do the, the Battle Network version of Pro Man or something. Because, like I said before, I think they kind of represent one franchise, one series in the Mega Man series, always with one individual character. So if you have the original base, you really don't have the original Pro Man. You always do Battle Network. But if you don't represent the original base from the original Mega Man series, you represent Base.exe from Battle Network, because Base from, Base.exe from Battle Network is a freaking awesome badass character, and he looks so freaking awesome. And you can do anyone, but it's freaking Base. He was like, after after Dr. Wily and after Pro Man, like, Base was, in the original series, the next main antagonist character for Mega Man. And he was this big villainous character, I think was it Mega Man 7? I think, yeah, it was 7. And he was still around in 8. And then he became a freaking awesome, crazy-looking character in Battle Network. The reason why I would say either Base.exe or the original. Now you can represent the original if you give us ProMan.exe, or you can give us Base.exe and give us the original Pro Man. You can include both if you want, or one or the other. But I would personally pick the Battle Network one because I think he's a little more cool in that game, and that saves up room for like Roll or Pro Man to represent the original Mega Man series. But you can go with the original here too, because Treble and Base and the freaking awesome character, and Base is my new number one after Mega Man X got in, because Mega Man X, like I said before in part 1, was going to be my number one on this list. But it got announced and I was like, yes! But like I said, you kind of see that I really love the Mega Man franchise here. I included basically 3 of the characters on this list, and originally it was going to be 4. So, Base, my number one most wanted new Capcom character for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Hope you guys like this list. Put in the comment section what you guys think. Do you guys like the characters on this list? Do you guys want any of the characters on this list? What characters do you personally want to see? New Capcom characters do you want to see in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite? Put in the comment section what you guys think. We can discuss it there, have fun, discuss it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to. Stay tuned for more top 10 lists and other future videos from my channel, which there are more videos coming. Top 10 lists has just been the easiest thing lately because of the holidays and work and whatnot. So more Ruby stuff and more everything else is coming, people. Just then you know that. I'm sorry for I will bring it back soon. I really promise. But that's my list. I hope you guys like the video. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to. Have a lovely day, and see you all later in my my next video. See you later. Bye. Hadouken!